Now, coming back off the last episode, Buttman, he ended up surviving, but his lungs had got punctured, and he ended up being in real severe condition. They said he would never be the same. So he survived, but you ain't got to worry about him doing nothing else to anyone, because he would never be back 100%. That's what I heard. Okay, now upon me being released from the block to home, they released me to a halfway house. And I had to do 8 months inside this halfway house, and then I can be released home to where I stayed with my girlfriend, then my wife now. So, okay, in this halfway house, I met this guy named Jubin. And Jubin, he was a cool dude, so we end up gelling. But he ended up getting released home from the halfway house. But we both had got a job through the halfway house at a smoke sausage packing plant, and he would still come pick me up from work, But this particular day, he was off, and he came and picked me up, because that's how I was able to, go see my girlfriend before I make it back to the group home through him. He was doing a solid for me, every now and then. And even though the group home had transportation, that still came to this smoke sausage plant and picked up other, we could say freshly come home felons. So even though I had a choice, as long as I made it back in by a certain time, I didn't have to ride home in the van. So this particular day I'm speaking about, I ride homes with Jubin, and we just crossed over the point that brought us back into East Baton Rouge Parish. Just crossed over the bridge we was in West Baton Rouge Parish. It brought us into East Baton Rouge Parish. And the police pulled us over speeding. We were speeding coming off the ramp. And he was sitting right under the ramp. And he swooped around and he pulled us over. And he ran our names and seen that both of us was convicted felons. So that gave him probable cause to pull us out and search the vehicle. Now, when he searched the vehicle, I ain't really thinking nothing, because I know I ain't doing nothing illegal. And Rico, we ride together because he was in this group home. So I could be around that felon. We was once in the same group home working at the same place. So as he's searching, I hear Jubin just say, man, fuck, man. And I'm like, man, what's wrong? What's wrong, man? We good. We ain't doing nothing. I'm thinking he talking about the two convicted felons around each other, some shit like that. Or even probably driving on a suspended license or something like that. I'm letting him know, this ain't nothing big, but he's still carrying on, man, fuck. Then all of a sudden, I see the police pull something out the car, put it on top of the hood, and radio for backup. So, we in front of the police cruiser. And I'm like, man, what the fuck is that? Come to find out, Jubin had fell back in his old ways and had 2 ounces of crack cocaine under my seat. Now, whether or not he take his own charge or not, I'm a convicted felon that's on parole. I can't be around nothing like that. No using no drugs, no selling no drugs, no being around nobody who do nothing like that. So in the process of the officer backup getting there, they start handcuffing us, and I hear Jubin say, man, all that's mine, man. He ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm just giving him a ride home. Now, ignorance is no defense in court. It's a law called being aware of your own surroundings. I should have knew what he had in his vehicle before I got in his vehicle. I should have asked him, and that's true. So now at this point, I had did 6 months in the halfway house and only had 2 more months left in there. And now I'm headed back to the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, to central booking. Now, upon me getting to central booking, I'm calling my then girlfriend, now wife. I'm calling her, babe, you got to get me out of here for all this shit pop up in the system and my parole officer see this and they put a block on me where I can't get out. You got to come post my bond. Now, at this time, she trying her best because we ain't as stable then as we is now. I'm just not coming home. So I hadn't had time enough to do anything, and she was doing the best she could, and she just didn't have the money at the time. So she was trying to raise the money to hurry up and get me out of jail before everything started popping up. In central booking, well, they put a hold on me. But that didn't happen. I end up going on K2. On fucking K2. I'm back in prison. After only being out for 6 months, I'm back in prison. My head smoking. Now, in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, I don't talk much about it because ain't too much happening there. Because as I fell in there, I damn near knew all the guys that was in there. Because I done been there so many times. On just even, bench warrants and all kind of little different things, So it wasn't no bigger than. Plus, when I did just get my big amount of time when I ended up in the prison where Buttman was, I was in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison first. That's where we landed before we get shipped. Now, the hoes that fell on me. Now, I can't go nowhere. And I know if once I can either violate myself or try to take this thing to court, and that's just going to burn out time, and I'm going to be convicted anyway. So I violated myself thinking I'm doing the right thing, being honest, and I end up going back in front of Bonnie Jackson. End up going right in front of her again. Now, when you violate yourself, that's like pleading no contest, saying you guilty, without saying you guilty, so, I'm thinking she gonna say, well, we just gonna give you this amount of time for you to, reflect on what you did and then let me out, maybe, give me 85% of what I had to do. No, this woman tell me, you just not got out and you back in my courtroom again. I'm sentencing you to 3.5 years. That's more than the time I had left on parole. And this woman says she's sending me to a hard labor prison. This prison where I'm going to, we gotta go out every day and work. Because in this prison, we grow our own food. Everything we grow, we eat. If you can't grow it, you don't eat it. You eating cow tongue. You eating all kind of things. And a lot of people going to know what this prison is. But like I said, I don't want to say what prisons until I finish all the episodes. That's just what I'm doing. So, I say I stayed in the parish maybe like a month. And then one day, I heard my name on the list for transport. And all they was doing was putting us in separate lines. At this time, I ain't even knowing where I'm going. They just called my name to be transported. And here I go again. I'm thinking to myself, how did I let myself slip and fall victim to this shit? I'm mad as hell at Jubin. Even though he tried to take his own charge, I'm mad as hell at him because you came and picked me up with this shit in the car. And knowing you wasn't too long got out and I just got out. And I'm trying to get home to my family and now I'm going back up again. I'm thinking, man, I'm about to lose my girl. I'm about to lose everything, man. My girl pregnant now, everything. Because like I said, I was riding with Juba to go be with my girl. That's the only reason why I wasn't catching the van back to the halfway house. So I can spend this little bit of time, this hour and a half with my girl, now wife. Not knowing if she gonna stick it out with me or be like, man, this stupid, ignorant mother. I'm back. I put myself in this situation, not choosing carefully who I deal with. Now, to make this situation even worse, Jubin was back selling drugs, so he had money saved and he bonded out. Jubin was fighting his charge from the streets. And if I remember correctly, Jubin actually went on the run. So okay, now I'm back. I'm back on this prison bus, shackled down, riding. Like, man, it seemed like this ride taking forever. We ride for about 2 hours. And then we come to this big old prison. But on that bus, I met a guy named Robbie. And Robbie was the first timer. He like, hey man, look, I don't know you or whatever, man, but if you look out for me, I'll look out for you, man. I'm trying. And I'm like, hey bro, yeah, this ain't my first time, but I feel where you at, you know what I'm saying? And we can look out for each other or whatever, you know, but I'm knowing Robbie, he a little skinny dude. He ain't gonna be much help to me up in here. We going where the big boys at. You know what I'm saying? We going to a level 2, level 3 prison. Hard labor. You know? And I'm disgusted at the time. And finally, we pull up to the prison. And when we pull up at the prison, I see this big old gate, guard towers, and everything. It's a whole different shape. It's in an L shape with an X like line going through it, and then it got a square in the middle. It's completely different. Just the outside of the prison. And even though I didn't been to prison before, I don't care how many times you go to prison, you still gonna be nervous upon arrival because you don't know what to expect. And if this prison anything like the prison I just left, I'm about to have a rough time. And it actually beats twice as worse. You housed totally different. Now I'm going here for a drug charge, and I don't sell no drugs. And I'm going in a prison which is made up of mostly people for armed robbery, murder, kidnappings, all kind of stuff like that been in this prison, that then floated around. And like I said, I ran across these two dudes named Monroe and Broomfield that actually killed a police officer. If you look those names up, you'll understand. These guys had been in there since the early 90s, you know, for killing a police officer. So when you get to this prison, they take you to what's called the annex intake. And, you know, they ask you a bunch of questions. If you got beef with anybody, you know, have you ever harmed somebody's relatives? Or do you know anybody in this prison that can possibly want to cause you harm? Are you suicidal? They do go through the whole run through. So I'm like, oh man, I'm already knowing this big trouble just by the questions they asking. You know? And when I went to the other prison, they did not ask me all these questions. They asked me about the suicidal thoughts and different stuff like that, but got beef with this person and have I harmed somebody's relatives before and different things like that. Am I in a gang or did I, you know, have I ever participated in, you know, drive-by shootings or anything with different neighborhoods and anything they need to be aware of? And when I tell you after we did the intake, they took us to this room and they did a full cavity search. I mean, thorough. Man, I felt despicable. I felt low. I felt lower than low. And plus now I'm in here for a crime that wasn't even my crime. Yeah, I was a party to it by being in that vehicle, but I didn't start my day off with the intent that I was going to sell no drugs or be involved with no drugs or be involved with any kind of crime. I was actually trying to do the right thing. I wanted to make it home to my girlfriend and my soon to be coming son. But that ain't happened. And the guy that got me involved in all this, he's actually home. So now I'm sick. So now we doing what's called placement. And when they do the placement, they call your name, and the inmates in the prison takes you to where you going to be placed at. And where they takes me to be placed at, they call it the mortuary. I'm going to the mortuary. I'm asking him, why they call it the mortuary? And old school look at me and say, sleep with one eye open or you gonna find out. Now I'm terrified, like, damn. You know, and this an old school dude, he got gray hair, but he got muscles on top of muscles. I mean, he got burnt marks on his own, but they black. They ain't even like a pinkish looking, they black. He just all wept up and bruised up, even his face. Looking like he just had a rough life all his life. So I'm just imagining when we get on the other side of this door and we walking down a long, like, little breeze walk. We on the outside. We comes out one door and walk on the breeze walk where we can see the fence, actually where you fenced in with the barbed wires and all that. And we walking up a breezeway to another door. And when you open that door, that's where you gonna be at. And when I walk inside this door, I see tears. And I'm like, man, fuck. And every tear cell is popped open. Old school say the cells pop open at 5 and they don't close until 8:30, 9 o'clock every day. So that means inmates can come and go all day. And then it's 4 to a cell on each tier. Like this. Top and bottom. And when I walk up in there, it's just like the other prison, but twice as louder. You hear guys saying, just a whole bunch of nothing. You can't even make out what they saying. It sounds like they just plain old ignorant back here. Man, you see guys mopping the floor, mopping on top, on one tier down here, two guys mopping on either side, two guys up there mopping up there. You see people sneaking people's stuff already. I just got up in here and you see illegal activity happen already. So old school say, hey, youngster, hey, watch yourself in here, man. Because it's every man for himself up in here. He said, you see all the way to the back, and I look all the way back there, and they got a door. He said, on the other side of that door is the key. And that's where the guard's at, right there, right outside this door. It ain't no double corridor. It's on the other side of that door, that's where the guards stay. And ain't no camera system. They just popping keys to unlock the cell and everything like that. And inmates have no entry that way. So it's only one way in for the inmate, one way out for the inmate. So now he walks me all the way down close to the end, at the bottom, in the cell. And when I get in there, it already got 3 dudes. And I'm talking about they big as a motherfucker. So I go up in there, I put my little stuff up, and now we got foot chests. There's no more lockers. Foot chests that you share. Remember I told you in other prisons things was different. It's foot chests that you share. It's chests at the end, at the bottom, that the top bunkie and you on either side share a side of that. Y'all got to put a space in between y'all stuff and knows whose is whose. So that can start conflict. Somebody else got access to your commissary or whatever your personal stuff is. And like I said, I'm a drawer and I don't like everybody to see my artwork because a lot of that stuff is private for me because of the things I draw. Sometimes I just draw what I see and what I feel at the time. So it's no privacy at all. The other prison wasn't no privacy either, but this is twice as worse. Now, when another person pissing shit, you this close to it. Okay, now I done caught y'all all up to me being in this new prison. Now, I'm going to start bringing these episodes back to back to back to back, when I start these episodes. So, and I'm going to tell y'all when I come back about my first night in this place. And it was horrible. I couldn't even believe half of the things that I was seeing. I'm in another bad predicament.